Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I make this adorable money cake to gift for birthdays, baby showers, or weddings. And of course you could change the color scheme to fit the occasion. You don't have to go with the pink. Now, with money cakes, I normally see the money on the outside of the cake, but then I thought, how cool would it be to put the money on the inside of the cake and offer a nice little surprise to whoever receives it. First, you'll start out by cutting a total of 6 circles with the diameter shown on the screen. Here, I'm using a compass to draw the circles on a piece of cardboard. Beginning with the 4 7.5-inch circles, I cut equal triangles out of each one using a utility knife. Next, I split the 4 pieces in pairs and hot glued each pair together. I repeated the same step with the triangles. Using these acrylic sheets from Dollar Tree, I drew a line at the midpoint of each sheet so that I know where to cut. I used the utility knife to go over that line on the front and back of the sheet multiple times. Once I felt it was weak enough, I carefully broke the pieces apart. Next, I removed one side of the protective film on each sheet before hot gluing them down to the pieces cut from earlier. Here I'm measuring how wide I need to cut this poster board to create the wall of the cake. Before gluing it down, you can consider whether you want the inside wall of the cake to be plain, even though most of it will be covered by money anyway. But if you still want a little pop of color behind the money, at this stage you can stick some adhesive vinyl on one side of the poster board strip, or you can glue some decorative paper on it. You can totally skip over this part if you don't want your cake to light up. I just like adding lights to a lot of my projects, so here I'm just adding some fairy lights to the top portion of the cake. Once the wall of the cake is glued down, it's time to cover the outside of the cake with the vinyl color of your choice. And you want to be very careful with this step as vinyl is not forgiving. But if you choose not to use vinyl, that's okay. You could also use maybe some decorative paper. You'll just need to make sure you glue it down. After the outer walls of the cake pieces were covered, I hot glued these foam roses to the top. Now for the cake stand, to cut the leg pieces, I started with a cardboard rectangle that was roughly 4 inches by 5¼ inches. Then I freehanded this curved portion and cut it out with a utility knife. Then I used this first leg as a stencil to cut out the remaining 3 legs. I used wood filler to cover up the holes on the sides of the cardboard. When using this stuff, please make sure you wear the proper PPE like gloves, eye protection, and a respirator while working in a ventilated area. Once dry, I lightly sanded these portions smooth, and I want to reiterate, if you decide to do this, please protect yourself from inhaling any dust particles or from any of the dust getting into your eyes. I hot glued the 4 legs to one side of the 11-inch circle cut at the beginning. I cut out these strips from poster board and hot glued it around the circle to create a trim. I also glued more strips on the inside to make the trim a little bit sturdier. Next, I glued the cake stand to this wooden circle I had as scrap from a previous project. But if I didn't have this, I would purchase one of the pre-cut wooden shapes at Dollar Tree. Now it's time to seal the base with Mod Podge. I focused a lot of my attention on the legs to seal the portions that have the wood filler, but I also made sure to cover the trim as well as any holes or cracks that I saw along the top edges. Next, you want to wait until it's completely dry. I know this does not look dry, but I promise I waited. Then you can spray paint it any color you like. After spray painting the cake stand, I covered the 10.5-inch circle with vinyl. You really don't have to do this. You could just leave the cake stand as is, but I just wanted a little bit of contrast. To decorate the side of the cake, I cut out a drip design using my Cricut Maker, and I started using transfer tape in the beginning, but I saw that it left some residue on the vinyl and I didn't really like that, so I ended up just applying the vinyl without transfer tape. Then I peeled the outer protective film on the acrylic sheets just enough to where I could apply these designs on the edges, and really I was just trying to keep the sheets clean from fingerprints or dust or anything like that, but I still managed to get them dirty and I later had to clean them anyway. A hole was also cut at the bottom of each cake piece using a utility knife so that later I could put the money inside. Here I'm just showing some areas where I hot glued some flower petals to make the edges look a little bit neater. Next, I covered the cake in diamond wrap while focusing on some of the borders to make them look more polished. These butterflies were made using Cricut, and I used this double-sided tape to stick the butterflies on the cake. Let me know in the comments if you decide to make your own version of this cake. See you in the next video!